What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to a podcast with Upside. I'm your host, Jay Felicio. You can find me on Twitter at GManJ. And with me, as always, is my partner, Dan. Wait, where's Dan? No, I'm just playing. Dan's running a little late. He's got something going on, but he will be joining us. With me tonight is a very special guest. You've seen him all over Twitter, especially from the soon-to-come SFB Podathon. This is what, year 4 for you guys this year?
Yes, sir. Year 4.
24 hours. Speak of the devil. Here is my partner in crime, the Mando to my Grogu, Mr. Dan Turner. How are you, Dan?
I am wonderful. Sorry for being a bit late. But
life happens. No worries. Oh, and Justin said that no, Dan, that's all the upside that we need. So
that's why I like Marco better.
Just introducing our wonderful guest, Mr. Sal Leto. You can find him on Twitter at Sal Leto FF, the co-host of FF Funhouse, co-host of On the Daily DFS at RotoViz, and obviously, as we all know him from the 24-hour SFB Podathon. Appreciate you joining us tonight, Sal.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for stepping on my intro, Dan. Nice going, pal.
Yeah, that's messed up, man.
I just had to hog the spotlight, you know. I couldn't let anyone else get introduced before me. Yeah.
Here's the good news for you, Dan. I talk a lot, and I kept Jay busy pre-show, and we delayed the show over 10 minutes.
Thank you
for delayed it just for you. We were talking.
Thank you so much.
Both Yankees fans, so we were talking a little.
Yeah,
Yankees baseball.
Let's talk about it. You didn't even need me there, right?
The glory days, because it's not looking too good right now. But we were talking about, actually the last time they beat your Phillies in the World Series, we were just talking about. So,
yeah, I don't know how. We had the best pitching staff of all time and blew it.
But the Yankees are Pedro's daddy. That's how. So
yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah. So you doing all right, Dan?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Thanks.
How's Patty doing?
Patty's good. She's downstairs sleeping somewhere. I had to remove her. I was on a show earlier, and she was snoring too loud, so I had to get her out of the room because it was taking over the podcast. So she's not here with me right now, but she's normally in here. But so we're going to go over the AFC West. This is the last of our division breakdowns. Before we do that, Sal, what we like to do with our guests is do 5 questions. You have not seen these. These are just little icebreaker questions. Just a little fun. So speaking of the SFB Podathon, wanted to know, what is the longest period of time you have went without sleep?
Boy, so I actually spent 18 years doing snow removal for a hospital, and there were a lot of long shifts, and I can tell you it's in the 30-plus hour range. So I've been up on the clock and working. I mean, maybe I dozed here or there for 5 minutes, but I'm telling you, if I did, I don't remember it. But so I worked 30-plus hour shifts doing that stuff, man. So
wow. So by this time, the Podathon's cake. Then it's nothing.
It's a joke, and it's warm, so it's not.
Yeah, right. You get some coffee, talk some football, you're good to go. So
yeah.
Well, like we were talking about, you and I are both Yankees fans, so I wanted to know, Yankee fan to Yankee fan, what is your favorite Yankees moment of all time? If you had to pick one moment.
So moment for me personally, or like a big Yankee memory?
Why not both? You got some good Yankee stories, so go into it.
Easily for me to say the best Yankee memory was the 96 World Series. You and I touched on it before we came on. People remember this great Yankee team from the 90s into the 2000s, always making the playoffs. Well, I was a kid in the 80s. The Yankees made the World Series in 81 against the Dodgers when I was 6. Then they didn't go back to the playoffs again until 1995. So there was a 15-year period there where they weren't in the playoffs, and they sucked. They weren't just bad. They sucked in the late 80s, early 90s. Stump Merrill was the man. I mean, we could do an hour on why they sucked back then. 96, 95, when they made the playoffs was awesome. I actually went to a game that year, 96, winning that World Series. For me, the first real big championship for a team for me as a young man / adult.
That's the first real sports memory that I have. I was born in 86, so I was like 9, 10 years old. That's when I was really starting to get into sports big time and understand what was going on. And I can vividly remember that pop out up on the third baseline to get that final out. Jeter's rookie year. Yep. I'll just that's my first like real sports memory, celebrating with my family. Like that's big time for me too.
It was pretty cool how you slickly put in that you're like 10 years younger than me. I appreciate
that.
Hey.
Hey,
I was 10 years old at the time. Shut up, Jay. Let me pinpoint one memory. I told you 2 great memories right before we came on. I was telling you them, right? So I'm going to give you.
We got plenty of time. If you want to give both of them, by all means.
It's crazy. There's a third one. All right. So let's go. Let's go quick. Let's get nuts, right? The first one, I was telling Jay, they had sucked for so long. The Blue Jays, as Marty's obviously a Blue Jays fan. So if he remembers in the early 90s, the Blue Jays had won in 92 and 93, I believe, were the 2 years that they won the championship. And they were really good in 94. They were in first place. They were a game ahead of the Yankees. It was a Thursday afternoon, 1:00 game. And the Yankees, they were playing at Yankee Stadium. And I wanted to go. I was like 20 years old. I was working a job. I was going to college. I was at that job in the morning, and I was a little bummed out. My buddy's like, "What's the matter?" I said, "I'd really love to go to this Yankee game today." I said, "It's like the first time in forever that they're playing like a really meaningful game at Yankee Stadium." He's like, "Well, what are you doing here?" It was the day before my birthday. He's like, "Well, go. What's wrong with you?" Like, go. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I left work. I went and got my 9-year-old nephew. He'd never been to a Major League Baseball game. We drive all the way into Yankee Stadium from Long Island, and the place is jam-packed, sold out. And I can't even get a ticket on the street. So my nephew.
That's unheard of.
Yeah. Well, now you could literally walk into any sporting event, right? But my nephew's crying. I'm like, hey, listen, buddy, I don't know what to tell you. A police officer comes up to us. He asked me, what's the matter? You know, he sees me with my kid nephew crying. I told him the story. He's like, all right, hold on. He waves me over. He's like, let's go. Come here. So if you know Yankee Stadium, you know what the bleachers are. He snuck us into the bleachers section. He told me, don't look at my name, don't look at my badge number. You never seen me before, just go. And as we were walking in, literally in the bleachers, Mattingly was hitting a home run, like soared over our head. They won 4-2 that day. I felt the earth literally shake in Yankee Stadium. Awesome. And it's a feeling of a jam-packed Yankee Stadium that so many people hate the Yankees, and I get it. We win. I understand. So yeah, no, Yankee fans can't be douchebags, but so that was
yes, 100%. Great. But we do have the most championships in professional sports history. I do have to throw that out there, Dan. So,
who has the second most professional championships? Anyone here? Anyone?
Is it the Celtics?
It's the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, that's right. I'm a hockey fan too. I should have known that.
For shame.
2-for-1 special of Sal. Yes, thank you, Gerson. I was on with the other guys on the network.
Dan and I were talking about that last night, but like I didn't realize that Sal was on with Jeff for the guys on Wednesday night. So
this is
just
it. Like,
an honorary member of going for 2. It sounds like.
Yeah. So. When you're it's like when you go to ESPN, they call it the car wash when you go on every show throughout the whole day.
Yeah. We've got another 6 or 7 shows, so I mean, you want to just get the whole wraparound. And Marty is obviously my Canadian brother. He's a Maple Leafs fan, which I'm the only professional sports team I adopted down here is the Hurricanes. So I'm a Hurricanes fan when it comes to hockey.
So happy Jay said wrap around and not reach around, which is cool.
Yeah, well, hey,
I was worried.
I choose my words very, very wisely, especially around
so
Dan.
Awkward.
Yeah, Dan will not. If I mess up anything like that, Dan never lets me live it down.
Never.
So that is the truth. And before we go to the next question, wanted to drop. Marty said that, "What's up, guys? Hope everyone stays safe." He wants to let us know that NFL draft night is his birthday. So, happy Marty, is it happy early birthday? Is it the first draft night or draft night 2? Because
29th or 30th.
If it's the 30th, Dan and I are going to have to sing happy birthday while we're streaming. And
no one wants
let us know.
Sing.
No, it sounds like a cat in a blender when Dan sings.
It does.
So you do not want to hear that. So
exactly.
Like Michael
Turner.
I don't get that.
Michael the Burner Turner?
29.
You remember? Oh, Marty shares a birthday with my dad. That's my dad's birthday too, actually. He's April 29th too.
Is Marty your dad?
No, he might be. No, he's not.
Yeah. There you go. That's right. I was telling Sal before I got to chant "Who's your daddy" to Pedro on the 2009 World Series. So that is one of my claim to fame. I absolutely love it. Yeah, we'll sing it anyways. We're going live day 2. We're going to get a big group of us, and we're going to sing happy birthday to our guy Marty. I've known Marty from Twitter for going on 4 years now. I talk to him just about every day. He's a great dude. So
yeah,
we got three quick questions, and then we'll jump into the fantasy talk. So Sal, if you could have anybody in history on the Scott Fishbowl Podathon as a guest, who would it be? And follow up for that is, what is one question that you would ask them?
Wow.
That they have to answer, just so you know. Like, they have to answer.
Anybody in history?
Anyone in history, in the history of Earth or the universe.
Well, I don't think Genghis Khan and I would understand each other, so I'm going to pass on him.
What's funny is the show I was on earlier was also talking about Genghis Khan. So I got two different shows talking about him in one day. That's
a popular guy. He's a popular guy.
Man, this is like a tough on the spot question, man. Let me tell you. So I'm just gonna stick to football, right? Because this is what the show's about. So I'm gonna pick Barry Sanders, one of my favorite players of all time to ever watch, and I'm gonna ask him, was it easy to walk away from football in the prime of your career? Was it easy to walk away knowing you could have been the all-time rushing champion in NFL history pretty easily, actually, if he just stayed and finished his career? So I think that would be my question. And I have a feeling, very modest, humble guy that Barry Sanders is, he would say, yeah, it was absolutely easy and not an issue. And because, he wanted to walk away with and respect the guys that played the game before him and not pass certain players up on that list. So, yeah, I think that covers it. That's
a good answer. I like that one. I remember watching him, and nobody else could make a 2-yard run look as beautiful as he did, man. It was unbelievable. The highlights don't do it justice to watching it live. So, and said if as bad as the line sucked, he'd say yes, very easy, which is,
it really is something that you have two like generational players in Sanders and Megatron, and they both walked away because your team sucked that badly.
Yeah, that is pretty bad.
Yep.
Well, we'll roll on to question number 5. We're talking about, Sal, you and I, well, you're still there. I'm originally from Long Island, but and coached fellow Long Islander, Ohio State tight end Jeremy Ruckert. Next year, he will likely be drafted in the NFL draft. So I know you're a Raiders fan, so not fandom side, but for his career, if you could pick what team he could go to, what team would you choose?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to pick the Raiders, right? So
I figured that. It'd be cool to cheer for him.
His family are a bunch of Jet fans. You can't say that the Jets are going to turn anything around, but it is looking like they're going to take Wilson this year, the quarterback, and they're going to start fresh. For him to come home and be local, I think would be awesome for him to be in New York. Such a good kid.
Adam Gase is no longer there anymore, so that's a huge.
He can't ruin him. So for him to be around his family and for us to be able to root for him locally, and my son's a Jet fan, I'm not. I got a feeling the Jets are going to be better, right? So for me, I think it would be awesome for him to come to New York. And the Giants, I'm an Evan Ingram guy, so I don't want him to go to the Giants because I want Evan Ingram to do better. So,
I would like
Evan
that
Ingram
happen.
is Jay's favorite player in the world. He's Jay's biggest fan.
I despise Evan Ingram the way he's played these past couple of years. But
I love him. I don't know why you hate him so much. He's a great player. I wish he was on the Giants forever.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. My dog Patty could catch balls better than Evan Ingram. If he had hands, he'd be fine. Maybe
I know a girl named Patty who could do the same thing.
No, it's a family-friendly show, but we'll talk about. We got a Manscaped promo we got to do, so we'll talk about balls later when we got the Manscaped promo coming up. So, with that being said, a nice little segue to talk some football. We will head on to your Las Vegas Raiders. And I don't know if I've ever heard you tell the story. How did you become a Raiders fan?
So I almost went with Marcus Allen as my person in history. So my brother, I have 2 brothers, but my oldest brother was always the one who I liked to, emulate, so to speak. I wanted to do whatever he was doing. I rooted for the teams that he was rooting for. So when he was a little kid, I actually was born in Astoria, Queens. I grew up on Long Island, but when I was a kid, I was in Astoria, Queens, and he played youth football, and I was 4 years younger than him. So he was like, oh my God, the name of his team was the ICYP Raiders. So I think he naturally became a Raiders fan based on the name of that team. And so we followed the Raiders, and your earliest sports memory was the Yankees, as you said earlier. My earliest football memory is the Super Bowl against the now Washington football team, where he did that cut back run. If you've ever seen it, to me, it's the greatest run in Super Bowl history. It might be the greatest single running game in Super Bowl history still to today. I think he had 191 rushing yards in that game. But that cut back and then through the middle seam of the entire defense into the end zone and just ran all over them. I was in love with football. I was in love with Marcus Allen, and I've just been ever since. And believe me, the Raiders have given me every reason to quit them. And get away from
Nobody can call you a fair weather fan. Let's just put it down.
That's right.
Watching them in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers in the early 2000s, if that didn't do it to me, I'm going to be there till the end. And I can hate them, and I can say bad things about them. And the guys out there, Gerson with the Raiders Nation, and he's a fan. We could say we want about our team because they do shitty, part of crappy things. And
that's right.
But you better not say a bad word about them, right? Because we'll get you. We got guys,
exactly.
We got guys back here with spiked shoulder pads just waiting to rip you.
Exactly.
Right.
You're allowed to talk crap about your team. Like, unfortunately, I've been a Knicks fan my entire life, so I can talk crap about them, but I don't want to hear somebody else talk crap about them, even though there's not really much to defend the Knicks other than this year. They're doing really well, but. We do have a question from Facebook. Matt Dole wants to know, in today's era, do you think Barry Sanders would have demanded a trade or stayed in the league and left in free agency to join a Super Bowl favorite? Sal, I'll let you answer that first.
I think it, I mean, I know it was a long time ago-ish, but it wasn't that long ago where I think he could have demanded a trade then. That just wasn't who Barry Sanders was or is. He's a very humble guy who respected the game. And if you go back and look, he really had an issue with that coach, Bobby Ross. Like, he really did not like playing for Bobby Ross. Aside from not being able to find running room a lot, he had to create it himself also. But I think he would have done the exact same thing today that he did back then. I just think it's the character of who he is.
I completely 100% agree. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's just who he was. Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. Well, with both you guys, I just don't think he would be the kind of player that would, demand a trade even in today's league. Although it would be fun, if he were to like hit free agency and he ended up on like the Colts or the Chiefs of this generation's team. That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. Put him in Denver when he was around, in the mid 90s, like that would be unbelievable. Yeah. And Voitik said, the Jets take Fields. You guys, Dan, I'll start with you. You think there's any chance that Fields goes too? You think
I hope to God that the Jets take Fields. And you know exactly why.
Why? Because you want him to fail?
No, I don't want him to fail. I don't want him to fail. Really, I don't. Just because I like Trevor Lawrence better than him doesn't mean I want him to fail. And I wish people would stop. Just because you like a player better than another player. I know. I just wanted to write that.
Do I have to separate you two?
Always.
Maybe
always.
Later.
But I think, honestly, I think he's the second best QB prospect in the draft. So I think it would behoove the Jets to take the best player available at that spot. So I do hope the Jets make the right decision and he goes there.
Sal, you think there's any chance Fields goes too?
I mean, every single thing in New York right now points to Zach Wilson. Every single thing. It would be a colossal upset at this point. If upset from the standpoint of all the money is on right. That. And it's so funny because, you guys have a question here later in the show about a pre-draft sleeper. I was going to say in the NFL draft this year, I think Justin Fields has become a sleeper at this point because he's dropping like a lead balloon all of a sudden. And I agree with you, Dan. I think he will not have the Ohio State, curse follow him, so to speak, as a QB. And I think he'll be fine and a very good NFL quarterback. So it could be a huge mistake that they're passing on him. It might work out for Jeff because he wants him to go to the 49ers, but it sounds like the 49ers might even pass on him. I don't know. It'll be real interesting to see.
I can't imagine if they take Mac Jones over Fields.
I will die of laughter just to see Jeff's face if they take Mac Jones at 3. I will die.
His face will be live that night. You'll get to see it live.
Yeah. We might have to hop into that point. We're going on at one point, but we might have to just hop in when that pick happens to see what's going on. So, but we will roll on with the Raiders. They signed Kenyon Drake to a 2-year, $14.5 million contract. Their offensive line has downgraded. How do you value Josh Jacobs next season from a fantasy perspective? And Sal, we'll start with you on this one.
As a guy who either got in auctions or in drafts a lot of Josh Jacobs when he was a rookie, because he was the top running back coming out that year, and he was going to my favorite team. It was a match made in heaven for my dynasty squads. I was really jumping off the train at the end of last season already before they did this, right? I just got tired of watching him on the sidelines, getting his legs worked on constantly, continuously hearing that he's going to be involved in a passing game, only to never be involved in the passing game. And now you go out, you bring in Kenyon Drake, a guy who last year was supposed to be a frontline running back in this league. And because of some injuries and some other stuff and the offense, sputtering here and there, didn't live up to what he and a lot of people thought he would be last year. I think Kenyon Drake comes in here and absolutely disrupts his value completely. So I was already trying to move him. I think his value is obviously hurt now by Drake being there. So if you're going to trade him, it's not going to be for what you could have gotten, 2 months ago. But
what's the least you would take for him right now? Dynasty, if I offered you a late second, would you take it?
No. I think you could still get first round value for him in some places. I'm not taking a late second for him. I'd rather just wait to see what happens. And I think that's plus I'm a mother effer to trade with. Like you got to really.
You're one of those guys that has to win every trade. Is that what it is?
It's not even that I have to win every trade. Just make me feel like I am. Right? Don't. If you're coming to me for a trade, I already assume you want to, screw me over.
Right.
Got to butter you up first.
Yeah.
Take you out to dinner and get to have a few drinks, and then maybe we talk. But Dan, what do you think? How are you valuing Jacobs next year?
Yeah, I'm valuing him. I think his value is tanking. I have him, I think, around like running back 25 or around there now. I think Sal made a great point. Even when he was the guy there, he didn't really have any receiving value, and you don't sign Kenyon Drake to that kind of contract if you're just going to have him, get like 5 carries a game. So combined with that and the O-line issues that they're having, I mean, he just isn't someone that can be relied on to be the bell cow, which was really what his value was. The fact that he was, one of the few guys that was getting the majority of the carries on their team in fantasy, and now that's been taken away.
Supposed to be getting the passing work as well,
right?
But never
Right, exactly. So now that his primary reason for going as high as he was going has gone, there's just no reason to take him that high anymore.
Yeah, his current ADP, according to Fantasy Football Calculator, is still running back 12, and there's no way, no how.
No way.
Near that. Ahead of DeAndre Swift, Antonio Gibson, Cam Akers, Miles Sanders. I would take every single one of those guys over him, especially with as bad as the O-line is looking right now. I'm sure they're going to draft somebody, and they signed somehow they think Richie Incognito is going to help with the maturity in that locker room. How that's going to happen, I don't know. Whoever he sold that to.
If anybody screams maturity, it's Richie Incognito.
That's right.
Exactly.
The picture of maturity.
So, I would, like you said, Sal, I would hold him. I don't think anybody's going to be willing to give up a first-round pick for him. I think you're better off just holding him. Maybe Drake falls flat on his face. He still returns some value. I wouldn't sell him, I think at best you'll get a second, and I'm with you. I would just rather hang on to him for that cost.
Yeah. Maybe if it's an early second, maybe if the draft is going and a player has fallen, right? Look at this guy. Rondell Moore's fallen to the second round because people got crazy on some other guys, that type of thing.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I would definitely par with him for an early second. Absolutely, at this point.
Yeah, once you get to the middle and the late second round, the value's just not there. So, well, after being drafted, huge draft bust in fantasy circles, Henry Ruggs was a disappointment with 6.5 points per game to finish as the 98th wide receiver overall last year. His dynasty ADP is 61st overall, ahead of Deontay Johnson, Curtis Samuel, and my personal favorite, Laviska Shenault Jr. Is Henry Ruggs a buy, sell, or hold? And Dan, I'll go with you because you recently wrote about him in your most recent article for Roto Underworld, and he had some really good stats to go along with it.
Yes, thank you. As I detailed in my article, he had surprisingly the number one target separation out of every receiver last year, and a lot of people don't understand. He only had 43 targets last year. He only ran like 331 routes, so he didn't have as much opportunity as many people would think he had. So if he can, get more targets and keep that separation. And so he would definitely be beneficial to as a buy right now. I think that he's a really really undervalued, because people, with him being the first receiver drafted in the draft class, people expected a lot out of him, and he fell flat on his face, admittingly. But if he can improve even somewhat on his target share, then I think he can be a really sneaky good play for fantasy this year.
What you think, Sal?
Well, I mean, you could go back to last year. So I do the Bull Rush Shotcast every year for the live NFL draft show. And Waz, if you know who Waz is, screenshot my face when they drafted him and not CD Lamb. I mean, it just played out perfectly. We were going to draft the best wide receiver but we took Henry Ruggs. We didn't draft the best wide receiver. And I'm a firm believer that CD Lamb will be a top 3 wide receiver in the league within 2 years.
I'm with you. As much as I hate to say that as a Giants fan, I'm with you.
So I hated it, but I'm going to support my guy. Right, he's on my team, so I'm going to support him. So I again got a lot of Ruggs in places last year, and
I unfortunately traded up in a few leagues to get Ruggs too. I thought he was.
I think he's going to be okay, because I think that they have to give him more of an opportunity this year. Like Dan's saying, he was a little nicked up to start the year last year. Then he came in, right? He got that big. He showed get deep and loose. And I mean, Jet fans remember when they almost won their first game of the season this year. And he caught that fall late. That was pretty wild. So the skill set is there for him to do that. I'd really like to see him and Bryan Edwards both be given the opportunity to flourish this year. I didn't love that they brought John Brown in. I think they were trying to capture some of what they found with Nelson Aguilar last year, bringing in a little bit of an older burner like that. But that's the role I want Ruggs to play, right? So why did you bring that guy in again for him now to have to compete?
Somebody with a different skill set? It would have been a better complementary piece.
That threw me off a little bit, but I don't know the names. The Laviska Shenault and Deontay Johnson all day for me over him. That's not even a question, but it doesn't mean I'm completely giving up on Ruggs. I think it could be a nice low end 2 if things work out,
Right. So Bryan Edwards or Henry Ruggs in Dynasty, who are you going with?
It's still going to be Ruggs for me, but I think that because I got to see it from Edwards too. It's not like Edwards jumped off the screen last year, right? He didn't do anything great. I know coming out, it's a different skill set that him and Ruggs have, and why not? Hey, why not both? There
you go. Especially the call. Edwards is going to be next to nothing. This time last year, he was the Twitter darling that everybody was talking up. His ADP was skyrocketing just because of the echo chamber that fantasy football Twitter can be sometimes. So everybody's off of him now.
Recommend to me. I was trying to decide in the second round between Laviska and Edwards, and they went hard at me for Edwards, and I took Shenault.
There you go. I'm a big time Visca truther. Dan will attest to. I've been on him since last year, so I am. I have a Visca shirt. I love him very much. So, but cool. If you're watching Visca, I love you. But Marty wanted to throw in there too, in the league that we're in together, that he has Jacobs, and he wants to know, Dan, if you and I will offer him a first-round pick.
I absolutely will. I will give you a 2025 first-round pick for him.
Yes, it does qualify.
That's a first-round pick. He didn't say what year.
Specify what year. So, with that being said, we'll roll on to the last Raiders question. 2020, Darren Waller was the second tight end in points per game with Travis Kelce, number 1. In 2019, Darren Waller was the 5th tight end in points per game with Kittle and Kelce tied at number 1. Going into the 2021 season, is Darren Waller in the same tier as Kelce and Kittle at the top of the tight end kingdom? Sal, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's 3. I think, if you're going to put him in a tier, the tier usually is because the value is all the same in that tier. But if you're ranking the 3 of them together, I think he's 3. But I mean, what can the guy not do, right? Like, he was their offense last year. There were games. Yeah. So what you have in Kittle and Kelce are 2 guys that can take a game over. Well, we saw that last year at Darren Waller. He willed them to victory in a couple of games. He just could not be stopped on a couple of drives. So those numbers are high. It's 2 years back to back. And I think as much as I don't love John Gruden, he was really on top of it, plucking this guy off of the scrap heap and giving him the shot. He's a pretty intense athlete. He's I think he's 100% in that tier, and I think that's where the tier closes with those three. But yeah, definitely.
Dan?
Oh, 100%. He's in that tier. I was actually doing a bit of research on him when I was writing the Ruggs part of my article, and I found this very interesting. He is number one in both red zone targets and deep targets among wide receivers and tight ends last year. So they throw him
wide receivers and tight ends?
Yep. So
wow.
they throw it to him a bunch in the red zone, and they throw it to him deep. I mean, you can't get more than that from a tight end. So he's absolutely in that tier for me. I mean, he had let me look real quick. He had 146 targets last year. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's like Michael Thomas level stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's absolutely locked in.
Yep. 7 games over double-digit targets. He had a game with 16 targets, a game with 17 targets, a game with 12 targets, a game with 11 targets. Most tight ends, you're hoping for 3 catches, 30 yards, and a touchdown, and you got yourself a tight end 1. To get that type of target volume all day, every day, give me Darren Waller. And for the cost, he is who I would want out of these 3 guys with their draft cost.
Yes, true.
So I'm with you guys 100%. I think it's those 3, and then there's a pretty steep drop off. Anything else you guys want to add when it comes to the Raiders?
They stink. No, go ahead.
Dan?
I hope they do well next year.
Oh, what a good guy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll add
up to the guest. All right.
I'll add something. I want to see Marcus Mariota get an opportunity to win the job. I want to see a real legitimate. He came in that one game, and the offense ran in a way it has never run under Derek Carr. And for some reason, we felt like we needed to force Derek Carr with his limpy groin back in a week later. Listen, Mariota's a former number 2 overall draft pick. I know he flamed out a little bit at the end in Tennessee, but he had big moments in Tennessee. Go back to the game against Kansas City in the playoffs a couple of years when he threw a touchdown pass to himself. That was awesome. Remember that? I think Mariota could play in this league, and I think Mariota could be the starter for us this year. I don't know that it's going to happen, but I would love to see him get a legitimate shot.
I had a feeling he was going to wind up in Washington. Before he re-signed with them, I could just see that going. They need somebody. It could have been a bridge before they got Fitzmagic. That was just my random free agency guess. Obviously didn't work out, but I'm with you. I think Mariota still has some stuff left in the tank.
He's not even that old. People act like he's like 35 years old. He's not.
No, him and Winston came in together, 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, it's the dynasty mindset of people in fantasy Twitter. It's if you're not 23 or 24 years old, you're all of a sudden ancient, no matter what. So, and apparently, you guys are winning the Super Bowl next year. Sal, what are your thoughts?
Yes, Gerson.
There you go.
All right, heard it here first.
We will roll on to the Los Angeles Chargers. I almost called them the San Diego Chargers. Thanks to Tyrod Taylor getting his lung punctured by the Chargers team doctor, Herbert took over and never looked back. He broke all kinds of records. The youngest to throw 30 touchdowns at 22. He beat Lamar Jackson by 40 days. Most completions in a rookie season with 379. Most games with at least 300 yards with 8. Most games with at least 2 touchdowns, 10. And most games with at least 3 touchdown passes with 6. With all that being said, are you worried that he's going to have a sophomore slump? And Sal, I will start with you.
I mean, not really worried, right? Like not really worried to the point where I'd be like, ooh, I'm not going to have him on my team, so I'm going to get away from him. Do I love his weapons top to bottom overall? I don't love them. I mean, they're okay. We know who his best receiver is, but so I worry from that standpoint. But he did fine with it. It's kind of the same weapons as last year, right? Minus the tight end. So
yeah,
I'm not.
And he can never stay healthy, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So, and hey, look, they signed Jared Cook, who I thought was retired, to play tight end there. So that should be
87-year-old Jared Cook.
Yeah, he could catch touchdowns if nothing else. So no, I'm not overly worried.
Dan?
Yeah, I agree. I think there might be like a small regression, but I don't see him like dropping off a cliff or anything, if at all. honestly. I mean, if he did that good his rookie season, I am, with the offensive coordinator change, we can see how that affects him and how they do in the draft. Maybe get him another weapon at tight end, Pitts. But
That would be
but
pretty sick.
yeah, but he showed that he can do it. So I don't really expect him to regress.
The thing I would be worried about with him is not his production, but where people are going to draft him. Dan, I've said this on multiple shows. Lamar Jackson, exactly. People were disappointed in him last year. He was still a QB1. It was because they were expecting the production from the year before. They were drafting him, in one QB leagues. He was going in the first couple of rounds. It's all about value, and if you're taking Justin Herbert expecting the production from last year, then he's going to be a bust. But if you take him, we're after Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I'm still on the Lamar train. I know a lot of people have jumped off, but if you take him where he's going to be a value in the mid to late rounds, then you'll be okay. He's not going to do what he did last year. It's just not going to happen. Guys don't have career, even though, it was his rookie year. Guys don't have years like that back to back. So you just got to be careful where you take them. And speaking of his weapons, seems like every year Keenan Allen is underrated, and he somehow finishes as one of the best fantasy wide receivers. He's currently being drafted as wide receiver 16 off the board in Dynasty. We're going to do a little name game with him. And Sal, if you don't know, basically, I'm just going to list the guys. I'm going to say Keenan Allen or another player, and you're just going to say who you would rather draft. And I picked guys who are all being drafted before Keenan Allen, which some of these names I was pretty surprised. So we'll go, I'll say the name, we'll go Sal, then Dan, then me. So first one is Keenan Allen or Brandon Ayuk.
Allen.
Allen for me too, especially with, Ayuk was great last year, but Kittle was hurt. Debo was hurt. I feel like Ayuk's a prime candidate to take a little bit of a step back next year. Keenan Allen or Mike Evans.
Allen
for me as well. This is where it's going to start getting a little more interesting. Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper.
Allen.
I'm going to go Cooper there. I'm a big Cooper fan. He was surprisingly consistent last year. It's very close for me, but I'm really excited about Dallas's offense with Dak back. Keenan Allen or Allen Robinson?
Robinson.
Yeah, Robinson. Even with the red rifle, I'm still going to go Allen Robinson here. Keenan Allen or DJ Moore?
Allen.
Yeah, I'm Allen as well. If they would have Panthers would have somehow wound up with Justin Fields, which there's rumors that could still happen, maybe that answer changes. But with Darnold going, he's not great with the deep ball. That's DJ Moore's specialty. I'm going to have to go Allen as well. And then the last one we're going to do, Keenan Allen or T. Higgins.
I'm going to say something before I just say the name, right? If Joe Burrow is healthy from day one, and I know he's starting the season, I'm taking T. Higgins in that spot. That's it.
What if they draft Chase? Does that change anything for you?
I just, I guess it would, but I just don't see it. I don't see that happening. I'm not a guy that doesn't see that.
It is the Bengals. That's the only reason I can see it happening. Because
I think it would just be so stupid not to pass up on the offensive lineman. I think
on Soul.
So,
I'm with you. I think.
Asterisk.
Yeah, Dan.
In Dynasty, I'll take Higgins.
Yeah, same thing. And I really hope that the Bengals don't do the Bengals thing and pass on Sewell and take Chase, but you never know with the Bengals. Well, we will roll on to the running back position, and after a breakout 2019 season where he played in all 16 games and averaged 19.3 PPR points per game, many were disappointed last year because Austin Eckler was only able to play in 10 games. Although the Chargers do have Joshua Kelly and Justin Jackson, it's still Eckler's backfield. Dan, we'll start with you on this one. Do you think he'll ever be able to handle the full workload?
No, I do not.
Our guy Troy's in the chat. What's up, Troy? Thanks for jumping in.
I expect LQ in like 3 seconds to say something.
Yeah.
But
so,
no, I don't.
No chance?
No chance. No, I don't think he's built enough to handle a full workload. And the fact that they keep trying to, bring these backs behind him that could split carries with them shows me that they don't really believe it either.
Yeah. Sal, what are your thoughts?
he's jacked, right? But he's not built for the NFL carry the load role. I think they had a perfect situation with him and Gordon when that was the role for him, So we did
the Danny Woodhead type of PPR role that he automatically got that ADP bump when players post a picture with their shirt off, or you can see their quads or their calves. Their ADP shoots up a few rounds. So
yeah, I got excited when I saw it myself, and I'm not even a Chargers fan. We did a 2-round mock with Jeff and Ryan last night, and I picked a running back to land in LA with them. It wasn't the running back that I think they should go for. It just made sense for the rookie mock that we were doing at the time. But a guy like Ramondre Stevenson, if you know who he is, he is the type of player they need to put with him. Like a guy like that, just a bulldozer back who could take the pounding so Eckler could get outside and do the things that he's, ready to do. So
little thunder and lightning like Ron Dane and Tiki Barber back in the day.
These guys can't get away from their team, man. These giant, they just cannot get away from them.
See, I thought Thunder and Lightning, those names, it's very disappointing to say the name Ron Dane, trust me. But when I think Thunder and Lightning, that's the first two guys that come into my mind. So I could go with the better off of Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw. That was a little better. So
Brandon Jacobs almost ran me and my son over in a car one day. So
really,
completely giant training camp.
Oh, that's wow.
He did not stop at the stop sign. Let's just say that.
Wow.
Glad you're okay. That's the important thing.
Yeah, glad. Well, we are going to take a quick break for a promo. Dan, you ready to roll with this?
I am. All right. So we are officially 1 week from the NFL draft, and it's possible that you might have Trevor Lawrence's haircut in your pants. That's why our partners at Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have partnered with us to make sure you don't gamble in shaving your footballs the same way you like to gamble in football. You can get 20% off and free shipping with the code UPSIDE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code UPSIDE, UPSIDE. It's time you turn that team of your pants around with Manscaped.
There you go. Love it, Dan. Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got to say, we got some of the products, the boxer briefs that they gave. My goodness, those things are fantastic. It's like you're sitting on clouds.
It's a silk hammock. That's what it feels like, a silk hammock.
Silk hammock.
I feel like a king.
Well, speaking of kings, we will go to the Chiefs with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, as our guy said it on Monday Night Football, which drove everybody absolutely insane. One point last year, he had a dynasty ADP as high as 5th overall. So needless to say, he was just a tad little bit of a disappointment. Although he did finish with a solid 13.5 PPR points per game, which was good enough for running back 21 with running backs who played more than 3 games. Are you buying, selling, or holding CEH in Dynasty? And Sal, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously used either the 1st overall, 2nd overall pick on him last year to get him, right? Depending on which camp you were in with the running backs last year. So I don't think you're going to get right now the value that he'd be worth if you did try to sell him, because he did underperform for the expectations. Like you said earlier about Herbert and Lamar, where you take them is where you expect. So I expect him to be better this year. I expect them to know how to use him a little bit better this year. So I'm going to hold. I'm going to hold on him because I just took him last year thinking he was. Now, if I got somebody in the league who really believes in him and they want to overpay me for him right now, then I'd be willing to sell him.
Right, absolutely.
Offered, but if you're saying just in a vacuum, I'm holding.
Dan?
Yeah, as one of those guys that loved CH coming out and drafted him early, I'm definitely holding him. Obviously, last year didn't turn out the way any of the CH truthers wanted, but I think that you're definitely not going to get the value, his top value now if you sell. And I mean, if you could see if you can buy him. I mean, a lot of people have soured on him after he didn't live up to expectations, and that's like the perfect storm for buying a guy that could still hold tremendous value if he puts it together in his 2nd season. And this is like how Dynasty works. If you don't come in and you're not Barry Sanders or like immediately, then you're a bust. So I think he's still in the best offense in the league, and he has the top spot there. So I would definitely either hold or buy, depending on where you are.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you guys said. The only thing that limits his upside for me is this offense is first going to go through Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. They're always going to be option 1 and option 2. So at best, he's going to be option 3. It all depends on what somebody wants for him. I definitely would not be selling low. And obviously it's the name of the game isn't to buy high, but if I was really upset last year when Damian Williams opted out, because I've never thought much of Damian Williams. I think he was just a body, just a guy in the Kansas City offense. You've seen guys like, what was the dude? Not Chark. It was something Shark on Kansas City a few years ago.
Sharkhandrick West.
Sharkhandrick West, that's right. Yeah. If he could go in there and perform, Damian Williams go in there and perform, it's just a running back and Andy Reid system that is going to be solid. So when CEH's ADP in redraft was like 3rd, 4th round, I was jumping all over that. But then he opted out and his ADP shot right up. And yep. So I am buying, sell if, like Sal said, if you can get a king's ransom, you got a Kansas City fan or somebody who still thinks he's going to be the next Kareem Hunt from a few years ago, by all means. But I think he's a buy or a hold currently.
Yeah, and honestly, with his, everyone points to how bad he was at the goal line. But even if he regresses to the mean there and gets in there a couple of times more, his value is going to go up.
Well, and that's another case too. If you watch a lot of the game, I watched a lot of his games. The play calling wasn't very good on the goal line for him. Like they were just running him into the back of the offensive lineman. So he was set up to fail. And they knew, the formations, they knew it was coming. So you can't always look at a stat sheet. Sometimes there's a difference when you actually watch and see what's going on.
What? You can't do that. This is fantasy Twitter. You don't get to watch.
That's right. I'm sorry. You got to look at the numbers, whatever the numbers say. That's right. The only thing that matters. I apologize.
Where do you think you are? Come on.
Well, speaking of Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, Kelce finished with 105 receptions on 145 targets. Tyreek Hill finished with 87 receptions on 135 targets. Nobody else on this team had over 45 catches or over 62 targets. Is there any pass catcher not named Hill or Kelce on this offense that you have any fantasy interest whatsoever? And Sal, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I have interest in Hardman this year. DLF has him at ADP of wide receiver 70. So, he's like free. So, and Watkins is gone, and not that Watkins was always healthy, but he's gone now. So they'll be game planning for him. He should be the wide receiver 2 on his team this year, and there's not a goddamn thing wrong with his skill set. They just need to use him more. He's 23 years old, right? So he's a baby still. And he could do everything that's asked of him. Just ask of him to do it, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah, what he's going to cost me, I'm interested to take the shot at Mecole Hardman again. I have him in places already, so those places are going to make me happy. So, yeah, outside of that, it's just we'll see what they do in the draft, but I think they'd be better suited to get some offensive linemen in the draft.
Yeah, I'd say so. The way that Mahomes had to run around in the Super Bowl, Dan.
Yeah, I agree with Sal. I think I would definitely take a shot at Hardman. I'm really a big fan of him. I think that he's definitely isn't used enough for his skill set if he was given a shot. The only thing other than that, and this is kind of cheating a little bit, is if they draft a receiver in like round 1 or round 2, then I would be interested in that, whatever the receiver they pick.
Yeah, that is cheating. You can't. That doesn't exist. So
that's why I qualified and said my real answer first. Okay, calm down. So Hardman is my answer.
We must be sharing all the same notes because I'm 100% with you. I think Hardman, especially, that's the type of guy that you want to take a shot on, a lottery ticket that costs you nothing on the arguably the best offense in the NFL. He did have the 3rd most targets on this team with 62, the 4th most catches with 41. He was somehow wound up with 4 less catches than DeMarcus Robinson. Sammy Watkins leaving, like you said, Sal. If anything else, that's going to free up an extra 50 targets, an extra close to 40 catches. So, you give half of that to Hardman, and 70th wide receiver off the board. Yeah, 70th off the board. By all means, I will gladly take that scratch off ticket. And you never know what's going to happen. Even though I don't think Kelce's going to slow down, he is getting up there in age. So, it's going to be hard for him to get another 145 targets, you would think. You never know with this offense, but for 280 targets between just those two guys, they'd be better off spreading that around a little bit. And Hardman, like you said, is still super young. So I think he's a great target in dynasty leagues. He's not going to cost much there either. So speaking of Mr. Patrick Mahomes, he is currently in 12-team 1QB leagues. He is 20th overall, ahead of skill position guys like Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Swift, Antonio Gibson, Cam Akers, and many other valuable skill position players. What round are you comfortable taking Patrick Mahomes in a 1QB league? And Dan, we'll start with you on this one.
Well, I'm not comfortable taking him at that ADP because that's, I think, a second round if we're doing 12-team. So absolutely not there. I would, if he lasted, which he never would, I would be comfortable taking him around like the 5th.
Yeah.
I'm not a take an early QB guy, right? I never have been, but I was invited to a new league last year. It was a league that existed for a while, and the guys all were educated guys, knew what they were doing. It was, we'll call it a family league, which would mean it was a local league where we did the live draft. My buddy had been in for years. And most of my leagues now are dynasties, and most of them are 2 QB. So this was a single QB redraft, 1 keeper league. And boy, it hit me at a point in the draft, the way the guys are drafting. I'm like, boy, I think I would take Mahomes here in the 3rd round. And I didn't get him. Somebody took him in the 3rd round. And that guy made it to the championship. And there was some inconsistency with some of the other better quarterbacks here, like Lamar Jackson last year. So, again, it's all dependent on who you're drafting with. In certain scenarios, I think I'd be okay with him in the 3rd round. And if anybody's got a chip on their shoulder this year to prove something, I think this is going to be a massive year for Patrick Mahomes. And here's another guy who's really not even in his prime. He's 25 years old, man. 25 years old. He's played in 2 Super Bowls and he's won one of them. He's been an MVP. We got so much Patrick Mahomes left in our lives. And as a Raider fan, it sucks. I'm not going to lie to you. So, I think Dan's right under normal circumstances, but depending on how a draft is going, I'd go 3 if it made sense for me.
That you make complete sense, and I completely get what you're saying. It's just in a 1 QB league, it would be hard for me to do that, pull that trigger. Like you said, home league where you're going to be able to get some values over, when you're playing with sharks and playing with people from Twitter that that are going to be on top of their game, that's a different story. Home league where you might be able to pull some value later, yeah, I could see that, but I just, in a 1 QB league, I don't know if I'd have him anywhere just because of where you're going to have to take him. So if he was able to last to the middle rounds, it's probably where I would go. But in no scenario is he going to wind up there. And we got some of our good friends in the chat. Our boy JL.
What up,
Z2
JL?
apparently thinks that I'm cute, which I love you too, Z2. I appreciate that. And this guy, JL, thinks, you guys like Cold Stone Creamery?
Sure. I like ice cream, so yes.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not bad.
JL thinks that Cold Stone is terrible and that Birthday Cake Remix sucks, which JL, if I could kick you out of this chat, I would, because that's terrible. It was my wedding anniversary last night. Me and my wife went to Cold Stone and I had some Birthday Cake Remix and it was delicious.
Listen,
go ahead. Say happy anniversary. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I'll let Dan had something lined up. Go ahead, Dan. Shoot it off.
No, I'm just saying, after some of JL's picks in his brackets, I'm not sure he can be trusted for anything.
That's true. That is very true. JL does have some pretty bad takes.
JL and I were on the Blitz game show together. And we set the record that night. I don't know if it's been beaten since, but that night we answered the quickest and got the touchdown however they do. It was pretty cool, the game show that they do over there. So
yeah.
We had fun. We definitely had fun.
JL's a good friend of both of ours. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Don't tell him I said that though.
I had to carry him.
You guys
questions. I carried him on.
That makes sense.
That sounds about right. That definitely sounds like it.
Yeah.
And what's up, Mike? Our guy Mike Hicks in the chat. Appreciate you hopping in, brother.
Hey, the Chiefs fan on the AFC West. Perfect.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And that's a very good point. JL, we got to get you on. We got to get you on. Are you able to do? Well, we'll talk. Can you do during the day? Sometimes 3 p.m. during get you on with their front yard fantasy.
In case anybody I work with is watching this, no,
absolutely
Good
not.
answer. Good answer. We do not advocate, skipping work for anything.
We'll definitely talk.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so on to the last team, the Denver Broncos. And rumors have swirled all offseason that the Broncos have soured on Drew Lock, and they're either going to draft his replacement or bring in a veteran to compete for the starting job with Mr. Horse Lock. Who will be under center for the Denver Broncos week 1? And Sal, we'll roll with you on this one.
It'll probably be Lock week 1. I don't know that it'll be Lock week 16, 17, or even 18 now, right? But I do think they'll get a quarterback in this draft. I think it makes sense for them to get a quarterback on a quarterback-heavy draft. Who it will be will all depend on what happens with the 49ers. Do the Falcons
draft starts at 3.
Yeah, like what happens there. So it could be Mac Jones. It could be Trey Lance. It could be Justin Fields, who I've seen going all the way down at 9 in some mocks. I don't understand it, but I think they'll come away with one of those quarterbacks. I think they should try to come away because Drew Lock is not the guy. So week 1, I say Lock, but I don't think he'll finish the season as a quarterback.
Dan?
I think that the Broncos will draft and start Trey Lance week 1.
Okay. You heard it here first. We'll have to snip it if it happens.
That was my pick, by the way, in the mock with Jeff last
time. I saw that. Yeah,
I got him all the way at 201.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Suckers. Wow.
Well, I mean, look who you're drafting with. I mean, really.
That's true. Yeah. So this makes no sense. I don't know why. I've had this gut feeling all year. I'm feeling well, that I could definitely see happening. Gardner Minshew, I have a feeling, is going to wind up as the quarterback of the Denver Broncos next year. If they don't draft somebody. If they draft somebody,
right,
then yeah, I think you guys are right. I think it'll be Lock under center week 1 and then eventually move on to the rookie. But I've just got this feeling that they're going to not wind up with a quarterback and they're going to trade for Minshew and he's going to beat out, do what Minshew does. He's going to start the season as a starter, have some flashes, and fall flat on his face. Although he looks like he's about to drop. Have you seen that picture of him with his mustache? And it's like he's about to drop the hottest country album of 1996. Like he just looks.
Florida, Georgia, whatever his country line,
whatever. Florida, Georgia line. Yep. Yeah. I live in North Carolina, so obviously I know the country guys. But I've got this feeling that either that or maybe they bring in Teddy Bridgewater for some competition. Somebody like that. For another year of mediocrity from the quarterback position. Their best bet would be to draft a quarterback. Whether that happens or not, I'm not sure. But we will roll on to the wide receiver position. And Cortland Sutton is currently going 82 overall, wide receiver number 33. And Jerry Jeudy is going 95 overall, wide receiver 37. At those ADPs, who would you rather have next year, Sutton or Jeudy? And that is redraft ADP currently.
Oh, that's redraft ADP. Okay.
That's redraft. So Sutton is 82 and Jeudy is 95. That's overall.
So I have them for Dynasty. The Dynasty ADPs, they're actually, and DLF, they're right next to each other as far as their wide receiver 24 and 25 with Sutton ahead. So, but I'll tell you for both, I want Sutton. I really like Cortland Sutton, and what I'll tell you is here's my opinion of these two guys. Jerry Jeudy could be a really steady wide receiver 2 for your fantasy team. Cortland Sutton could be the best wide receiver in the league. I fully believe that. Like,
oh wow,
I think he's got that kind of a skill set, right? So he might not ever be that, but I think he has a legitimate shot to be a wide receiver 1. And he's still young. Judy's obviously younger. And I think he's being slept on by a lot of people because he wasn't there last year. So, I mean, he was there in small bits, right? So it's Sutton for me, absolutely.
Dan?
Yeah, I agree with everything Sal said. With the injury last year, everyone completely forgot that Sutton even exists now, and he was. Wait,
you're telling me that Twitter is reactionary and only goes by what they see in front of them?
Breaking news.
That's not possible.
I'm sorry to break it to you, Jay, but that's how it works. But anyway, he was the wide receiver one on that team, and his skill set is really, really good. So I expect, a lot of people like Judy because he's a name, but I think Sutton is a bit underrated coming back this year. And if he's fully healthy, then I'm definitely taking Sutton.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you guys said. I was very surprised looking up those ADPs and being so close. I expected Sutton to be behind Judy with all the hype that Judy had last year.
Yeah.
I really did. So if they're staying that close together, give me Sutton all day because I think they've, like Sal said, I think they got a similar skill set, but I think Sutton has the higher ceiling. I think Judy's got the safer floor, but at those ADPs, by all means, give me Sutton. And Dan, I got to ask, what is that a snake on your shirt or something?
That is a Jake the Snake shirt.
Oh, that is fantastic.
That's what that is. Some old school.
Bravo. I like that.
Old school.
I like that a lot. Matty Daddy would be proud, our resident wrestling guy. He would be proud of that shirt.
Yep.
We will move on.
Share a picture with Dan in the chat that we have together later. From I think it was 1986, Nassau Coliseum, WWF wrestling. Yeah. And I was sitting in the second row, and a guy who became one of my best friends in life is sitting in the front row right in front of me. Someone took a picture of us. We didn't know each other yet. And we ended up coming.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we were from the same town. And the person who took the picture worked in our school district and took the picture actually of him because she knew his family. And years later, he saw the picture, and I was behind him.
Wow.
That is crazy.
He put it on Facebook. Awesome.
Just so you know, Sal, Dan and I were both born in 1986, so I thought we would just throw that out there for you.
Who's the next one?
There you go, Jay. What did we just say about making all our guests?
Actually, Sal, I think you and I have talked. I think I was born in the same hospital as your kids. I was born in Good Sam in West Islip.
All three of
my grandmother.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to work at that hospital, so that's
it's a small world after all.
I'm gonna go yellow. Wow.
Yeah. Well, the final question we have for the teams is dealing with one Mr. Melvin Gordon. He's currently being drafted as the running back 25. He averaged 14.5 points per game over the final 7 games last year. When Philip Lindsay was out, he averaged 3 more points per game. He finished that stretch as the running back 17. Is Melvin Gordon underrated? And Sal, we'll go with you.
I mean, maybe at 25 he is. He's an RB2 going into the season. So at 25, he's outside of that with that ranking. So, from that standpoint, yeah, maybe he's underrated. But the guy's played 16 games once. He's gone over 1,000 yards once. He's 27. I think we've seen his best days, right? So I think he got a good year left out of Melvin Gordon, not a great year left out of Melvin Gordon. And I could see them probably drafting a running back at some point in this draft also, and seeing what happens there. So, I guess based on the 25, he's underrated-ish.
Underrated-ish, I like that. Dan, is he underrated-ish?
He is underrated-ish, yes. All the stats you put up with Philip Lindsay out, now Philip Lindsay's out of town. So, with that, he has the whole backfield to himself, and he put up some, I think he was running back 15 to end the year last year. So, he has that running back too he'll have some running back 1 game. So he's absolutely underrated. I take him over Josh Jacobs. That's for sure.
Why you take him over Josh Jacobs? That's a tough one. Jacobs still has that upside. I think, that's tough. Sal, who would you go, Gordon or Jacobs? Strictly next year, redraft.
That hurt me. That hurt me a little bit. It hurt me a little bit. I'm going to still take Jacobs.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to take the upside of Jacobs there too. You guys, we can hug it out later, so that works. But so he finished last year. He averaged end of the season. It was 13.2 points per game. With Lindsay out, he averaged 3 more points. So if you add that to it, he would have went from running back 24 to running back 13. So he definitely still has some potential. I think he's a perfect target in Dynasty if you're trying to win now. Because a team if somebody who has him is rebuilding, there's obviously not much tread left on the tires for him. I wouldn't mind him at running back 25 in a redraft. Buy him for pretty cheap, and if you have a win now team, but Dynasty obviously not long term, but I think he's somebody who is the type of solid piece that can help put a championship team over the top. A little bit of depth, a solid running back too. If you could wind up with him as your flex, you take that all day, every day. So we will run through these next few questions real quick. We're running short on time. Sal, who is one player from this division that you are targeting in fantasy next year?
I'll go back to Cortland Sutton. That's the guy I want to target because I think I could get a pretty good value on him right now.
Dan?
I am going with Henry Ruggs because, as we talked about before, I think he's going to improve this year, and if he can connect on a few deep ones, he could probably win you a couple of weeks.
Yep. I'm going to go with somebody who we haven't really mentioned, Mike Williams. He's another guy who is basically free right now. People are forgetting, he had a stretch last year. He was pretty productive. Let me look up his current ADP if I got it. But he's, another team that I want a piece of that offense in, I was about to say San Diego again. It's so hard saying Los Angeles, growing up with the San Diego Superchargers. Keenan Allen's the only guy there that he's going to have to, other than Eckler, compete with targets for. So he's another lottery ticket, end of the draft, end of bench guy that I would want. Right, exactly. There's some targets opening up. So I still like Mike Williams. He's still a guy that's young. One thing I love every time I think of him, he every time he catches the ball, he falls to the ground so hard. Somebody said it looks like every ball he catches, he looks like he's getting chokeslammed by the Undertaker when he goes to the ground. And that is absolutely perfect because it's the truth. That's exactly what it looks like. Sal, what is one player that you are fading from this division?
I almost was going to break your heart because it was almost going to be Mike Williams for me.
Hey, that's fine. That's what makes this fun, disagreeing.
Listen.
It's all cost-related.
Yeah, I love him. I want him to be healthy and play to his full capabilities. I think if he does, he'll be fine. So I'll go again back to a player we just talked about. I'll go to Melvin Gordon. I'm going to be fading. If I'm talking dynasty, I'm going to be fading him at this point in his career because he's getting older, and I believe they're going to bring somebody in. So I think he's got a good year left, and then after that, it's it for him.
And we got our guy, both Jeff Bell and Mike in the chat saying what's up. Appreciate you guys hopping in. And Jeff wanted to say that Sally hopes you are well. It has been a minute.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate both Jeff and Mike. Good guys for sure.
Absolutely.
They are good.
Good friends of the show. Dan, who are you fading from this division?
That Gordon fade kind of hurt a little bit. So in response, I'm fading Josh Jacobs. I think, but in all seriousness, I think he had the perfect situation last year, and he had, as we discussed, no receiving upside, and literally everything from last year has gotten worse. His O-line has gotten worse. They signed another running back, so his opportunity has gotten worse. So there's really not as much, in my opinion, not as much upside as maybe you or Jay thinks, Sal. So I would be fading Jacobs right now.
I feel you. I'm not going to fight you. I mean, we did mention Richie Incognito. I guess you're just going to.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The maturity.
The maturity that he brings to that team. If you look up the synonym for Richie Incognito, it's going to be maturity. So I'm going to stick with the running back theme, but I'm going to go with Austin Eckler. And that's not because of his talent, but if they continue to use him in this workhorse role, if they don't bring somebody else in, I just don't want to take the risk of him getting injured again where you have to take him. He's currently the 6th running back off the board ahead of guys. Aaron Jones, take him ahead of Melvin Gordon, but going ahead of Jonathan Taylor, ahead of J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift. I would take every single one of those guys over him. So for me, I just don't like the draft cost and the draft capital you have to spend on a guy that you have to worry about staying healthy. That early you want somebody who you're almost, obviously nothing certain, but you want security from your 1st or 2nd round pick. And I just don't feel like you get enough of that with Eckler. And with the final question of the night, Sal, we'll start with you. Who is your favorite pre-NFL draft sleeper?
Now, you didn't write from this division on that, but I still assume you wanted it from this division. I noticed that. I didn't necessarily mean this division, but whatever it is, that's fine too. I'll give you one for each. So for me, my favorite pre-NFL draft sleeper overall is Paris Campbell. I think
Ooh,
Paris
I love
Campbell
Paris
is
Campbell.
another forgotten man who hasn't had a chance to even get his career started, and again is 23 years old and has
I love
pretty
that pick.
sick skill set. So if we just go in NFL wide receiver, NFL player in general in this division, I'll go back to my Raiders. I thought about Brian Edwards, but I'll go with the guy I talk about. I'll go with Marcus Mariota. You want to talk about free and a guy who's got a shot to maybe.
I picked him up in a couple leagues.
Yeah. So why not, especially for the 2 QB league, go grab Marcus Mariota. See if there's a chance he wins that job.
All right. Cost you nothing. The return it could be huge. Dan?
I'm targeting someone that you actually just talked about, and that's Mike Williams. He's basically going free. Henry gone means 92 targets are, free now and looking for a home. So besides Keenan Allen, there's really no other receiver there that should generate much target share. So I'm definitely at his current price. Give me Mike Williams.
Continue to talk for a second. I think the mascot's here. Hold on one second. I'll be right back.
The mascot, Patty, is making an appearance. So absolutely, yeah. So definitely. Mike Williams at his current ADP, I'd be someone I'd love to have in my teams. Also, Jay's gone. We can talk really bad about Laviska Shenault.
Did you? Oh, look at this guy.
There he is, the mascot.
Patty was at the door. She wanted to come say hello to everybody. So here is the official mascot of Podcast with Upside, Patty. Say hello, Patty. Yeah, all right, I'll put you down.
Patty's funning us.
She is.
She's judgmental. Let's just put it that way. I heard her snoring through the door, through my headphones with the podcast, and I have a little music playing too. And I still heard her snoring. But she wanted to come and say hello. So
coincidentally, I rent the second floor apartment upstairs from my best friend in the world, and he could hear the same things with the door from me. He actually recorded it. This is not a joke. This is true.
I believe it. Absolutely. I used to do the same thing with my dad. I was on the second floor of our house, and the parents' room was underneath me. Back in high school, playing Halo 2, had my headset on, TV blasting, and I could hear my dad through the floor snoring like a freight train. So I know exactly what you mean. Dan, did you give both of your sleepers?
Oh no, I just did my overall sleeper. Jalen Hurts. I think that he's going to be
nice homer pick.
Thank you. Very much.
I like Hurts from a fantasy.
I think he has a little bit of hype, but now that the Eagles are morons and said that he has to fight for the job with the corpse of Joe Flacco, probably pushes it down some. So
take this opportunity to go buy him in fantasy, because if anybody takes that seriously, by all means, go for it right now.
Yeah, so definitely Jalen Hurts.
So my division sleeper would be a guy who we talked about a few times, Mecole Hardman. I think for his cost, this offense he's on, I think it's well worth the risk. And non-division, it'll still be the West, but it'll be the NFC West. Deebo Samuel, he's another guy that's going for next to nothing. And Ayuk went off when it was just him. Kittle was hurt, Deebo was hurt. Look at what Deebo did 2 years ago when he was healthy. Kyle Shanahan knows how to use him in his offense, wants to continue to use him in his offense. If they do likely upgrade this offense, especially if they get Justin Fields, my goodness, give me Deebo all day, every day. Oh, you talking junk about Visca? Is that what it was?
Listen, Gerson, no one likes a tattletale, all right?
Yeah.
No one likes
I would have watched it back. That's all right. Well, Sal, thank you very much for hopping on with us. It's been a lot of fun, especially the Yankee stories. It's always good to talk to another Yankees fan and relive the glory days, because they suck right now. But, that is what it is. But
they're winning 6-3.
Hey, there you go. That works. Was it anything with Glaber? Because I got him on my fantasy team.
Rugnet hit a 2-run single when the base was loaded. Somebody hit a home run, but I don't think it was Glaber.
Okay. Well, that's all right. I'll take
Glaber Day.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for hopping on. We've talked a lot through Twitter, but we've never done a show together. So this is a lot of fun to get to talk face to face. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Obviously, you got the SFP Podathon coming up. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, man, it was a lot of fun for me to be here. But the SFP Podathon, July 5th, we kick off at 9 a.m. We go for 24 hours till Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Hopefully everybody's off with the paid day off on July 5th, because 4th of July falls on Sunday. So we're kind of trying to counter on the fact that everybody should be home nursing their hangovers and doing it with us. But yeah.
What better way to do that than to sit on the couch and listen to the SFP Podathon? I mean, what more could you want?
You get this accent for 24 hours. Who could pass that up?
I grew up with that accent because even though I grew up in North Carolina, my parents still have the thick New York accent. So it's like hanging out with family when I'm talking to you. So
cool, guys. Thank you again for having me. It was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, 100%. Dan, you got anything you want to add?
No.
All right. Well, that works. You will catch us. We're not going to be, you're not going to have to deal with us until next Friday. We are doing a day 2 draft special from 7 to 10 p.m. We've got a bunch of guests lined up. Steffi Smalls, Jeff Hasley, Rumboys Robbie, a bunch of guys that have been in the chat. Jeff Bell.
The entirety of FYF is going to be there. All of them.
FYF is going to be there. Who else, Dan? Who else?
Ray Mars.
Ray Mars. We got Fantasy Unicorn, Tyler Karp. We've got a bunch of people lined up. We're going to have some surprise guests.
Nate and Jen are stopping by.
Yep, Nate and Jen are going to be on there. Shane is going to be there. We've got pretty much almost all of fantasy Twitter. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Check that out. And then, so next Friday, 7 to 10. And then in 2 weeks, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Scott Fish himself will be on the show in 2 weeks with us. So don't know what we're going to do yet because all of our division breakdowns are wrapped up, but we'll do something fun, maybe a best ball draft or a mock or something like that.
Something fun.
Take a look at this, and I want you guys to compare the domes when Scott's on and see who.
Okay.
All right.
Better.
I got the mental
screenshot of
picture.
that. We'll
there you go. Yeah. We'll compare who worked better. So again, thanks everybody. Don't forget to check us out next Friday. And
unless the Eagles are stupid and trade up for a defensive end, in which case I will not be there Friday.
I'll be whatever
on the floor in the fetal position weeping.
That's basically what you do anytime the Eagles draft period anyway. So
exactly.
How about J-Jaw over DK Metcalf? Was that?
Listen, who is this J-Jaw you speak of? I have no idea who that